She wanted space, right? She said, I just need time to think. So you gave her exactly what she asked for. Silence. No texts, no calls. You disappeared. But now, she's checking your stories, liking old photos, and suddenly she's just wondering how you're doing. What happened? Why is your silence messing with her head more than your words ever did? Here's what most guys don't realize. When you stop chasing, when you stop explaining, when you stop being so available, something shifts, especially in women who thought they had you wrapped around their finger. See, it's not about playing games. It's about changing the energy. Because when you go quiet, she's forced to deal with something she never expected, your absence. And for some women, that silence screams louder than anything you ever said. This video is going to break down exactly why your silence flips the switch in her head, what it does to her psychologically, and how you can use that power without looking
manipulative or desperate. So listen close. She asked for space. Maybe not in those exact words, but the message was clear. She stopped replying as fast. Her tone got colder. Her body language changed. She said she was just busy, or dealing with a lot, or that she needed time to think. And like most guys who genuinely care, you respected that. You thought, okay, maybe she's overwhelmed. I'll give her the space she wants. So you pulled back. You didn't chase. You didn't double text. You didn't ask for closure. You just went quiet. At first, she didn't notice. She thought it was normal, maybe even a little refreshing. She probably even expected it. But then something strange happened. A few days passed. You still hadn't reached out. A week went by. Still silence. Suddenly, she's lurking on your Instagram, watching your stories, maybe liking something she ignored weeks ago. And then out of nowhere, she texts, "Hey, how have you been?" That's not random. That's not innocent. That's her trying to get back into your mind.
without admitting that she misses you. Because deep down, your silence made more noise than anything you ever said. Most women don't expect a man to really pull away when she distances herself. Because they're used to men who chase, men who beg, men who try harder the more she withdraws. It's a pattern she's seen play out again and again. She knows how it works. She pulls back and you panic. She says she needs space, and you send 5 paragraphs explaining how much you care. But when you flip that script, when you stop playing your part in that old dynamic, it throws her off. Suddenly, she's not in control of the situation anymore. She doesn't know what you're thinking, and that uncertainty, that drives her crazy. And this isn't about games or manipulation. It's about reclaiming your energy. See, most guys think being quiet is weak. They think if they don't say something, she'll forget them. That if they don't chase, they'll lose her for good. But the truth is, when
A woman feels like she already has you. There's no urgency, no mystery, no curiosity. Your silence takes all that certainty away. It forces her to question herself. It makes her confront a reality she never wanted to face, the possibility that you might actually be okay without her. Imagine her scrolling through her feed, expecting to see your name pop up. Nothing. She refreshes her messages, still nothing. That itch starts building. She tries to distract herself, opens TikTok, opens Instagram. Still her mind goes back to you. Why hasn't he reached out? Is he mad? Is he with someone else? Has he already moved on? That loop plays over and over. Not because she's evil or manipulative, but because the one thing she was counting on, your attention, is now gone. And the silence becomes deafening. This is where most guys mess it up. They can't handle the silence themselves. They think, maybe she's waiting for me to say something first, or she might be losing interest, so I need to fix this. But what they don't realize is, the silence is the
message. It's the statement that says, I'm not waiting around, I'm not begging, I'm not trying to convince anyone to stay. That kind of energy isn't needy, it's powerful. And power, in this context, isn't about being dominant or cold. It's about having self-respect. It's about not abandoning yourself just to prove your worth to someone who's unsure about you. Let me give you a real-life scenario. There's a guy named Marcus. He was dating this woman for a few months. Things were intense at first. Constant communication, long nights together, deep conversations. But after a while, she
started acting distant, said she needed to work on herself. Marcus didn't blow up her phone. He didn't write some long emotional letter. He just said, "Cool, take all the time you need." And then he went completely silent. No status updates, no posts about healing or moving on, just quiet. Now here's what's wild. 2 weeks later, she sent a voice note, not just a text, a voice note, full of emotion. She was confused, said she didn't expect him to go cold. She said she thought he'd fight for her. She even admitted she was checking his profile every day, wondering if he'd post something that gave her a sign. The silence, it got to her. It made her feel the loss more than any dramatic argument or desperate plea ever could. Why? Because words can be ignored. But silence creates a vacuum. And in that
vacuum. Her mind starts creating stories, scenarios, doubts. She fills in the blanks, and 9 times out of 10, those blanks are way more intense than whatever you could have said. Silence makes her imagination your ally. She'll replay moments in her head, try to figure out if she misread something, wonder if you're the one that got away. And none of this happens if you keep talking, keep chasing, keep trying to explain yourself. When you go quiet, you take yourself off the pedestal she put you on, the one where you were just another guy orbiting her, and instead, you become a mystery again. That mystery is powerful. It forces her to look inward, to question if she was too quick to pull back, to wonder if she lost something valuable. And if she was ever truly interested, that silence won't be comfortable for her. It'll sting, not because you hurt her, but because she thought she had time. She thought you'd...
Wait, and here's the twist. Silence isn't even about her. It's about you. It's about taking your energy back and redirecting it to your own life, your goals, your mindset. The second you stop using your time and mental space trying to fix a situation that's out of your hands, you get clarity. You start to remember who you are outside of the dynamic. And ironically, that shift, that recentering, is what often pulls her back. Not because you tried to get her back, but because she can feel that she's no longer the center of your world. And people always feel that shift, even if you're not posting about it, even if you're not showing off. Energy doesn't lie. When you stop needing someone, they sense it. When your vibe changes from "I hope she likes me" to "I'm good either way," it hits different. That's when they start coming back around, testing the waters, throwing you little breadcrumbs to see if the door is still open. That's when you have the power to decide, do I even want her back? Not from a place of ego, but from clarity.
And make no mistake, that power is earned. It doesn't come from pretending you don't care. It comes from actually learning to care about yourself more. That's what your silence is for. Not revenge, not manipulation, growth, space, distance, all the things that give you perspective. And in that space, she either realizes your value or she fades away completely. Either way, you win. Because now, you're not emotionally chasing someone who's unsure. You're focused on your own direction, and only someone who adds to that is worth your time. Now let's be real. Some women will try to play it cool when you go quiet. They'll act unbothered, post stories with captions like "unbothered and thriving" or pictures with quotes that say, "If it's meant to be, it'll be." But deep down, they're not as calm as they look. Because if you've ever meant something to her, if you ever gave her a genuine connection that hit different from all the noise she's used to, then your absence won't sit right. It'll haunt the quiet moments. It'll creep in late at night, when her phone buzzes and it's not you. When she posts a story just to see if you'll watch, and you don't. When she laughs at something and thinks, he would've.
Found this hilarious. That's the moment it starts, the slow unraveling. See, attention is a form of validation, and most women are used to having that attention as a constant. Not because they're bad people, but because it's always been there. Guys lining up in DMs, likes, comments, little flames and heart eyes on every story. But your silence? That's not just the absence of words. That's the absence of validation. And when you were the guy who gave her genuine, undivided, masculine energy, not thirst, not begging, but presence. And suddenly that disappears. It hits different. It makes her feel like something meaningful is gone. And here's the thing, women don't miss you when you're always available. They miss you when they can't predict you anymore, when you're not performing for their attention, but silently prioritizing your peace. There's something psychological about it too. In dark psychology, there's a concept called intermittent reinforcement. It means when someone gives you attention,
randomly, not constantly, it creates a much deeper obsession than if they're always present. That's why slot machines are addictive. You don't win every time, but the chance that you might makes you keep playing. So when you used to be present, texting, calling, showing love, and then suddenly that attention disappears without drama or explanation, her brain kicks into high alert. It starts searching for the reward that's now missing, and it creates tension, mental pressure, curiosity, which over time transforms into obsession. And that's why silence is such a dangerous kind of strength, because it's invisible. It doesn't look like power. It doesn't look like dominance. It just feels like something's missing. And people always notice what's missing, especially if that something used to make them feel safe, admired, or validated. When you go quiet, she doesn't get closure. She doesn't get the final word. She doesn't get to paint you as the
clingy guy who couldn't move on. She gets nothing. And nothing is what her mind will try to fill with everything. You want to know the moment she really starts losing her mind? It's not when you first go quiet. It's not even after a few days. It's when she starts realizing that your silence isn't temporary, that it's not a strategy or a tantrum or a bluff. It's when she sees you living, posting your goals, hanging with people, looking better, smiling more, but still not saying a word to her. That's when it hits her. You didn't just go quiet. You moved on. And that silent movement speaks volumes, because now you're not the guy trying to prove something. You're the guy she used to know, the guy she might have taken for granted, the guy who no longer needs her validation to feel valuable.
Let me paint this with another real example. This guy Jason was head over heels for a girl who kept giving him mixed signals. Some days she was sweet and all over him. Other days cold and distant. He played along for a while, thinking if he stayed consistent, she'd eventually stop the back and forth. But she didn't. So he stopped responding. Not out of spite, but out of clarity. He realized he was emotionally investing in someone who didn't know what she wanted. So he redirected that energy to his fitness, his work, his social life. She noticed the shift instantly. At first she ignored it. But then the silence lingered. No more good morning texts, no more checking in, just absence. Weeks later, she messaged him a long paragraph about how she felt weirdly disconnected and how she missed their bond. She even admitted she didn't.
Expect him to actually stop caring. But he didn't stop caring. He just stopped overgiving. And that's what silence is. It's not about being heartless. It's about rebalancing the scale, about giving yourself the love and attention you were handing out like candy to someone who wasn't even hungry. Now, some guys are afraid to go quiet because they think it makes them look like they're giving up. But what they miss is that sometimes the most attractive move is to simply do nothing, to not reach out, to not explain yourself, to not beg someone to appreciate what's already obvious. The more you explain your worth, the less she'll believe it. But when you walk away, quietly, calmly, and focus on becoming undeniable, she has no choice but to wonder if she made a mistake. That curiosity starts off small, a thought here, a flash of memory there. But as the
silence continues, it grows. It becomes a need to understand, a need to reconnect. And once that door opens in her mind, it doesn't shut easily. And let's be honest, not every woman deserves your silence. Some don't even notice it. But the ones who do, The ones who had real potential with you but didn't realize what they had? Your silence becomes the mirror. It reflects back everything they ignored. The conversations, the laughs, the way you showed up when others didn't, and most importantly, the way you're not there now. And that's why going quiet is not passive. It's active. It's a choice, a statement, a boundary. Not the kind you announce, but the kind you enforce by doing less. By no longer giving people access to you just because they used to have it. And yes, sometimes it hurts, especially if you still have feelings. But silence isn't about pretending you're emotionless. It's about controlling your reaction. It's about not letting your emotions pull you into someone else's indecision. And here's the kicker. When you go silent, it's not just about her. Other people notice too. Your energy changes. You start attracting different people. You start moving differently. You're no longer reacting to situations. You're creating new ones. And suddenly, women who overlooked you start watching. They sense the difference. That internal shift. Because you're no longer emotionally chasing. You're building. And nothing is more magnetic than a man who's building something without needing anyone's permission or attention to do it. So now she's thinking about you more than ever, but she won't admit it. Instead, she'll test the waters. Maybe she'll like an old post. Maybe she'll reply to a story with something casual like LOL or "This is so you." It's low effort on the surface, but trust me, that's not accidental. That's her way of breaking the silence without exposing herself emotionally, because once you go quiet, the power dynamic flips. Before, you were seeking. Now she's observing. Before, she had control. Now, she's unsure. And uncertainty? That's where the mind spins the hardest. Silence makes people reflect in a way noise never can. Because when someone is
Blowing up your phone, you can tune it out. You can categorize them as too much or too available. But when they're gone, when there's just a void, no words, no explanations, it's impossible to ignore. And here's what makes it even more intense. She starts wondering what your silence means. Did you meet someone new? Did you lose interest? Did you see through her games? And because she doesn't have the answer, she starts filling in the blanks with imagination. And that, right there, is where emotional tension becomes emotional turmoil. Let's say she's out with friends, scrolling through her phone, and she sees a post of you living your life, not acknowledging her existence. Maybe you're out at a concert, a gym, a rooftop spot, somewhere that looks like you're at peace. Now she's confused, because she thought silence meant you were hurting, but now you look better. That doesn't add up in her mind. She expected you to be chasing, regretting, second-guessing. Instead, you're glowing. And that glow, it drives her crazy. Because women are wired to respond to status, confidence, and emotional detachment more than any scripted line or romantic gesture. You have to understand something deep here. Attention used to be her currency. She knew how to trade it, how to use it. And you, going quiet, removed that currency from the table. Now, she doesn't know how to trade with you anymore. Her usual methods, flirting, teasing, playing hard to get, aren't landing. You're unresponsive. And when a woman starts to feel like she's losing influence over a man she once had wrapped around her finger, the fear of loss kicks in. Not necessarily love, but loss. The fear of being forgotten. The fear that someone else might get your attention, your loyalty, your focus. That's why you'll notice her slowly escalating. At first, it's a like, then it's a DM, then it's a message about something random, pretending she found a picture that reminded her of you, or asking a question she already knows the answer to. But behind that casual front is a need to reestablish control. And if you respond too quickly, too eagerly, it confirms to her that you were just waiting for her move. But if you stay calm, measured, if your tone is neutral and not emotionally reactive, it throws her off again. It tells her that whatever she once had over you
is slipping away. Now here's where a lot of men mess up. They break their silence too soon. They let their emotions drive their decisions. They think, she reached out, That means she misses me. And maybe she does. But sometimes a woman reaching out isn't about reconnection. It's about reassurance. She just wants to know she can still get a response, that she still matters. And once she gets that confirmation, she might disappear again. Silence, when broken prematurely, becomes weakness. But silence maintained with self-respect becomes strength. It's not about playing games, it's about knowing your value and refusing to hand it out cheaply. That's why your quietness needs to come from a place of power, not pettiness. You're not being silent to hurt her. You're silent because you've learned how to protect your peace. You've learned that not everyone deserves your access, even if they once had it. And when you truly master that energy, people start to treat you differently. Not because you've become distant or cold, but because you've stopped chasing chaos. You've stopped entertaining confusion. And that makes you rare. Because most people can't sit in silence. Most people panic without attention. But when you're comfortable with it, you become unpredictable. And unpredictable men are always more intriguing. T.
Think about it like this. If someone always shows up when you snap your fingers, you never value their time. But if someone disappears the moment they're disrespected, you start to take notice. You start to treat them differently. That's how women respond when you go quiet. It disrupts the pattern, it breaks the cycle, it forces her to confront the reality that you were not waiting around like an option. You were choosing yourself. And once a man truly chooses himself, he becomes untouchable in a woman's mind. Because now you're not needy. You're not trying. You're just existing in your own lane. And that lane, that calm, grounded energy, is exactly what draws women in. Now, some women might act like they don't care. They'll double down on acting happy. They'll start posting more, going out more, showing off. But all of that is for one purpose: to get your attention, to see if the silence can be broken from their side, to see if you're still emotionally hooked. But when you stay unshaken, you show them that your world doesn't revolve around their approval anymore. That's what really messes with them. Not the silence itself, but what the silence represents: growth, maturity, power, and most of all, freedom from their emotional grip.
And here's something you may not hear often. It's okay to miss her and still stay quiet. It's okay to care and not act on it. Silence doesn't mean you're numb. It means you're disciplined. You can feel everything, but you don't let those feelings control you. That's what separates men who grow from men who stay stuck. And when a woman sees that you've mastered your own emotional world, she starts to wonder, what does he know that I don't? That curiosity, that sense that you've tapped into something she can't reach anymore, that's what makes her spiral. Because now, she's not chasing the old version of you. She's chasing the version she didn't see coming, the version that no longer needs her like before. And whether she admits it or not, that realization shakes her. Because deep down, she knows. The moment you went quiet, something inside you shifted, and it might be too late for her to reach it again.
At some point, all this internal chaos she's feeling reaches a tipping point. She might try to confront you directly. Maybe it's a message like, "Why are you ignoring me?" or "What's going on?" But here's the key. How you respond in that moment will either confirm her fears or reset the whole dynamic. If you panic, explain too much, or apologize, you just hand her back the power. But if you stay calm, keep it simple, and don't over-explain, you show her you're not rattled. That silence wasn't about her, it was about you, about your boundaries and your worth. And when you make that clear without sounding defensive or desperate, that's when she starts to respect you on a whole new level. This moment is the climax, the key turning point, where your silence turns from a mystery into a statement. It says, "I'm not someone you can just take for granted." It says, "I control my own emotions, and I don't need constant validation." And when a
Woman realizes this. It triggers something deep inside her, a mix of respect, fear, and attraction. Because attraction isn't just about how much attention you give her, it's about how much respect you command. And respect is earned by what you don't say as much as what you do say. Silence is a powerful tool. It's like a magnet pulling her closer without a single word. Now, this isn't about being cold or playing childish games. It's about understanding human psychology and using it wisely to protect yourself and create healthier dynamics. Going quiet when someone is used to you being available flips the script. It forces them to reevaluate how much they truly value you. It forces them to face their own feelings instead of distracting themselves with games or manipulations. And the more you hold your ground, the clearer it becomes that you're not just someone to fill time or pass the boredom. You're a priority, but only for those willing to meet you with respect.
Some men get stuck in a loop of trying to explain themselves or prove their feelings, but that never works. Silence, on the other hand, invites curiosity. It invites longing, and it invites change, because when you stop chasing, you start attracting. When you stop reacting, you start commanding. And when you stop explaining, you start standing tall in your own power. The moment you go quiet, the game changes completely, and she'll start losing her mind, not because she's crazy, but because she's human. Because the unknown makes the heart race, and silence makes the mind wonder. So the next time you feel tempted to text her first, to answer every call, or to explain your feelings immediately, remember this: silence is not emptiness. It's a space where value grows. It's a place where you regain control over your emotions and your life. It's the moment you stop being an option and start being a priority. And that shift, it's the one thing that will have her thinking about you all day, every day. It's the one thing that will make her question what she thought she had and want more of what she doesn't yet understand. This isn't magic or manipulation. It's simple psychology combined with self-respect. It's about being the man who can walk away and not look back. Because sometimes the best way to get someone's attention is to give them nothing at all. The silence speaks louder than any words ever could. If you want to learn more about how to use psychological techniques like this to attract and influence interest without chasing, make sure you watch the next video now.